In this report, we're going to take a look at cluster scores with individual students. Just a little reminder on terminology. Cluster scores are a collection of standards. In this particular case, we look around the top here and we have several standards that are mixed into the decimal, fractions, negative numbers, percent, score, and there were 17 items on this particular test. Compare that down the line over here, we have statistics, and there are only 4 particular items on the test. Now, when you're looking at the cluster scores, some of the weaknesses of trying to use the state tests to give you a real clear picture of what's going on with a student. We don't break this down all the way to standards, so we're only getting to the cluster areas, which may not give you enough particular information to know which areas of a cluster need to have specific attention paid to it. And another weakness is by not being able to see the actual test questions, which for most states they don't publish these questions directly after the test. It's difficult for a teacher to look at the questions or the results and say, well, my students would have scored better because of this particular question we didn't cover, or this is a very difficult question, or these sets of questions we scored high but they're fairly easy questions. So you have to look at this report and get a certain level of information, but realize that there's much deeper levels to know about students that in a lot of other assessments of different sorts will give you the information you need. But let's look at some of the results on this and see how it works for a couple of our students on here. We start off with right at the top here, Destiny, and if we look along at her scores, she had some high scores and got down to fairly low scores along the way. For a total score, in this case 316, which for the California test meant she was a basic student. And obviously when you're trying to get kids proficient above, you would look at a student like Destiny and want to know what areas would bring a student like her up to the proficient level. Contrast that with somebody that's even below basic. They have quite a few areas that you'd want to work on to accomplish that. So this particular report is good for giving you a general feel on how your school and your kids are doing in certain clusters. But again, measure that into a lot of other areas of assessment to be able to get a clearer picture of what's going on.